Hey, welcome back, man, to another splendid and star-studded edition of the Chatterbox with King Jacob, man. Yours truly, where we're bringing you the best news, media, and some remarkable stories about the journey of life. And so, with that being said, man, I have a special guest, a brother, longtime friend, Brother Charles Jones, man. And for those that don't know you, Brother Jones, go ahead and tell them who you are and introduce yourself and just tell them, about you, man, because a lot of people don't know how important that your ministry is to you when it comes to your music. So you know what I mean.
Okay.
Tell them about who you are.
Okay. First of all, good evening to everybody. Jake, it's good to see you, man. Yeah, you're right. Long time friend, man. We've been friends for years, and it's always good. It's always a pleasure, man. Always a good pleasure to be talking with you and seeing you. But yes, I am Charles Jones the second, and originally from DC, born in DC, raised in Johnston, South Carolina, with my grandparents, and just a country boy, trying to survive, trying to make it happen, trying to do what it do, trying to keep it moving and keep it positive at the same time. Been playing music since I was about 5, maybe 6 years old, and didn't really realize that it would take me to where I am now, in ministry wise. Didn't realize it, but I've always known that it was something that I wanted to do, and since I was a kid. And but even all through school, I don't think a lot of people knew that I played instruments until I got in high school. And Miss Debbie Jones, did an article on me at Miss Little High School, and that's when a lot of people found out that I was actually a musician. So, but and a singer and a writer, and of course a lot of other things too. But that's basically it in a nutshell, man. I don't really toot my own horn. I really don't. I just allow, the ministry, the work that God put in me, I'll allow it to shine. It's nothing that I've ever done that was so good that, people gravitate to my music or to my ministry. I just allow God to be God in my life, man. That's basically it in a nutshell.
Okay. So, a couple years ago, about a year or so ago, we talked about the health in the Black community and what it means. So, man, let's do a recap on, the congestive heart failure part, and then we'll go to the kidney part as well. I just want you to go some awareness with the congestive heart failure and tell people how it really, really, really almost had you up out of here, man. And just for people who don't know what it is, kind of go into it, explain to them, and how it came about with you.
Okay. Yes. It's something that I talk about a lot, especially with the Black community, because we as a Black people, as a race, as a Black race, we don't go to the doctor. We just don't. I mean, a lot of times we go to the doctor, it's like the very last option, and that is not good. I was one of those people that, hey, I'm good. I take a couple aspirins, whatever. If I got a headache or if I got something going on, I'll take a pill and just keep moving. But I found out that in doing that, you cause more harm to your body. Excuse me. You cause more harm to your body by just, I call it self-medicating. And so, but what happened was I was working on a job, and just started feeling, fatigue, just like tired. Normally I would I could zip through different jobs, different things, and keep it moving. But this particular day, it got to the point to where I just could barely put one foot in front of the other one. And yes, it almost took me out, because when I finally got to the doctor, they rushed me to the hospital and told me that I had congestive heart failure, and that my heart was beating. As long as I'm sitting down, let's say I'm sitting down like right now, my heart was beating fine. But whenever I get up and go across to the other side of the room, or whatever, my heart would beat. It would skip up to 150 beats a minute. And a person that was, a 20-year-old wouldn't be able to handle that for a long time. So, here I was in my early 50s, late 40s, early 50s. And so, that was just about checkout time, to be honest with you, for your heart to race. And it's ripping and running just like that all day, and then you're wondering why you're so tired. That's why, because your heart is beating so fast, it can't keep up. But to really be honest with you, Jake, the reason for congestive heart failure is not just about the heart. A lot of people, we need to educate ourselves, and we need to read, we need to study. The Bible says, study to show yourself approved, that you can, that you can rightly divide. And so what happens is that when we don't read, when we don't study and understand the body, the anatomy of the body, we tend to be a time ticking bomb. And at some point, based upon the weight that we have on us, based upon the stress that we have on us, based upon everything that we deal with in life, and especially Black men, I have to harp on it, because Black men are notorious for carrying stress throughout the day. Then they get home, they got more stress, they got more added things going on all the time, and they never get a chance to digress. And when you don't ever take the time to digress and revamp your mind and just sit back and woosah, you're destined for being checked out. Now, what I did learn throughout that process was that congestive heart failure starts with sleep apnea. Sleep apnea creates high blood pressure. It creates congestive heart failure. It creates diabetes, along with bad eating. Unhealthy eating choices creates, of course, contributes to diabetes, but sleep apnea is the root to everything that happens in our bodies when it comes down to congestive heart failure. Not being able to sleep, because see, what happens is, at night when you're sleeping with sleep apnea, if you know anyone that stops breathing in the middle of the night, that's sleep apnea. And the thing is, when I talked to my pulmonary doctor, I was under the impression that sleep apnea only comes with people that snore. That's not true. You don't have to snore to have sleep apnea. If you stop breathing in the middle of the night, it's because your brain is not getting the oxygen that it needs to keep your heart beating at a proper rate. So what happens is when you stop breathing in your sleep, regardless of whether it's 5 seconds, regardless of whether it's 10 seconds, or regardless of whether it's 3 seconds, it doesn't matter. It's that when you stop breathing, your heart stops. It completely stops, and you're not getting oxygen to your brain. And what happens is, if and when you wake up, your blood spikes and it shoots up like that, and it causes your heart to jump back in, and it beats extra fast to keep up, to try to catch up from what it just lost, which creates congestive heart failure, and it throws your heart out of rhythm. And you have to have all kind of procedures like I did. I had to have 4 procedures done on my heart to get it back in rhythm. The first 3 Well, the first 2 procedures, now I've had to have 4 before I had my kidney transplant. But the first 4 procedures, the first 2 didn't work. I had to wind up having 2 more different types of procedures to get my heart, because what they had to actually do was put me out and shock my heart. They actually stopped my heart from beating and shocked it back twice to get it back in rhythm where it would beat like it's supposed to. And I have to, if your doctor prescribed you to wear a CPAP machine at night when you sleep, I advise you to wear it. Because what that does is that while you're sleeping, if you happen to lose consciousness while you're asleep and you stop breathing, that machine forces air into your lungs.
Right.
And it keeps you from losing oxygen to your brain. And I tell everybody, when I wear that mask at night, I sleep like a baby. I mean, literally, it is the best sleep I've ever had in my life. Now, without that machine, I can go to bed at 9 o'clock at night, and at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, I'm wide awake and I'm up all night.
Right.
Because your body is steady, your body is trying to rest, but without that oxygen going to your brain like it's supposed to keep everything balanced, your body is how you try to get a little baby to calm down at night before it's time to go to bed. You have to kind of let them. You got to let them wear out. That's what's happening, and your body is not doing that. So what happens is, in the middle of the night, you're fighting all night long. So, my advice to people, and like I said, we as a Black race, we have to communicate. We have to communicate. We have to talk. We have to allow, each other to tell, and we as men, I say this all the time, men are the worst at communicating with other men. Because, for some reason they think it's soft. Brotherhood is the best therapy I've ever had, because you think that you are the only one going through something. Talk to another brother, and what you're going through, you may think is bad, but what they're going through is something that you probably couldn't even handle. So we need to, as a people, like this platform that you have is absolutely amazing, because it allows people to express how they feel about certain things, talk facts, and then people can actually hear it, they can see it, and then they can be like, they can scratch their head and it's like, man, you know what? I might need to go get a doctor's checkup. I might just go get a checkup just to find out, hey, let me know where I am. And that's, in a nutshell, that's where we need to be as a people, because a lot of people are checking out of here and they don't really have to. So, to have an opportunity to find out exactly what's going on with your body, with the congestive heart failure, because it's going to happen. There's no question in my mind that if you're not taking care of your body, if you're not taking care of your mental state, it's bound to happen sooner or later. And you rather deal with it and know exactly what's going on with your body before it get to the point to where you're laid up in the hospital like I was for almost 3 weeks. And you're right. You have no control. You have no control.
Right. And so with that sleep apnea, man, I can definitely testify to that, because I suffer with sleep apnea, man, and I just went and got a new BiPAP machine, and so I was without one, for a couple months, man. And listen, yeah, man,
it's rough.
I'm talking about.
I'm glad that you did that.
Yeah, man. So and then it's where you can be in the middle of conversation, and all of a sudden you just doze off.
Yeah,
in the middle of conversation.
That would, like I say, that creates other things. Not necessarily just the congestive heart failure and the high blood pressure. people are taking high blood pressure medicine and don't really have to take it.
Right.
But they taking the high blood pressure medicine because their blood pressure has spiked based upon them not getting the rest and the proper energy and the oxygen to their brain that they need. And it causes epilepsy as well. Where you start having seizures, you start, getting to the traffic light. You sit at the traffic light or the stop sign, you waiting on cars to come by. Next thing you know, somebody blowing the horn behind you because you done fell asleep.
Right.
I've been there. Hey, listen, I've been driving across a bridge. When I was in Virginia, I drove across a Lake Anna bridge. Don't even remember how I got across the bridge. Those types of things happen, and people leave here, they die, get killed, and they go to sleep and never wake up. Now, one thing that my doctor did tell me, and I'm gonna share this as well. Then we can, go ahead or do what you got. Go ahead on to the next one. With sleep apnea, people, how people, pass away in their sleep. A lot of times they'll pass away in their sleep. What's the first thing that they say? Oh man, he must have had a massive heart attack in his sleep and died.
Right.
It's not always the case, because there are some times that sleep apnea will take you out based upon how long your heart has been out of rhythm. If your heart is out of rhythm and it's beating too fast, if you get up and walk to the other side of the house, or if you get up and walk outside and go to the mailbox and come back and you feel like you can't catch your breath, you're like I'm talking about extremely fatigued, then you might need to go get that checked, because that's not normal. It's okay to be a little winded.
Right.
It's okay to be a little winded because of exercise, but if you're just walking from here to your mailbox or down the street, let's say you want to go for a quarter of a mile walk or even a mile walk and come back and you can barely make it back, that's not a good sign.
Right.
But sleep apnea can cause you to pass away in your sleep if you're not careful, if it's not treated.
Right. When you were talking to your doctor, did you guys ever talk about how many Black men or Black people in the Black community suffer with congestive heart failure and don't even know it?
No, I will. What I will do for you is actually look that up for you, and I will get to, even if I have to call you and text it to you, or call you with it, and so you can actually present it. I'll do that for you. But we as Black men, we can only speak for Black men, and me being one of those Black men that have dealt with it, I can basically tell you that a lot of us, more so of us, are going through it, that are not being treated for it. That making sense. A lot of us have it and have had it for years based upon, because we grew up on the farm. We grew up eating everything.
Right.
And so a lot of that stuff comes back and haunts us after a certain time. I'm in my 50s now, so I have to be very careful what I put in my stomach. What I'm saying? So, and when I was younger, in my teens, in my 20s, I could eat everything, and you know me, Jake. I mean, we could do just about anything we wanted to do, but I can't do that. I can't do that now. So we have to be very mindful. But I'll get that information to you, and matter of fact, I'll start working on it tomorrow.
Right. Well, okay. And so, upon that, man, so having that congestive heart failure, how bad did that affect your kidneys as well?
It affected everything, because the kidneys, I put it like this: the symptoms that I had with congestive heart failure are the same symptoms you have with kidney failure, but with kidney failure, it's about 20 to 30 times worse. It's worse.
Wow. So, upon being diagnosed with kidney failure, and how did you come to find out you had kidney failure, and how bad had your kidneys got before you got a grip on it?
Well, I didn't get a grip on it. Let's just go ahead and put that out there. By the time it hit me, it was already too late. I was already at stage 4 when I found out. You only have one more stage. That's stage 5. So it was a blessing for me to find out when I did, because once you get to stage 5, it's pretty much a wrap. Normally you'd probably be on dialysis for the rest of your life. When I found out about my kidneys, it had been about a year. Matter of fact, it was about a year to date, because it was March of 2019 with congestive heart failure. March of 2019. March of 2020, I was sitting here in my house. Me and my wife were talking. I went upstairs. I got up off the sofa and I walked upstairs, and I could barely make it upstairs. I told my wife, I said, man, something ain't right. And it began to have, I was beginning to have the same symptoms or the same feelings I had with congestive heart failure. And I told her, I said, baby, I said, something's not right. I feel like I felt when I had congestive heart failure. And I walked up the stairs to use the restroom. I got to the top stair, and fell. When I got to the very top, I fell. And I was like, oh no, something ain't right. And so what happened was, I was able to use the restroom that time by myself. After that, I was not able to do anything for myself, period. And when I tell you, it went from 0 to 1,000, just like that, to where I couldn't even walk. It was taking my blood. My blood was leaving my body some kind of way. They were still trying to figure out how I was losing blood. And my hemoglobin, your hemoglobin is supposed to be 11, 12.
Right.
Mine was at 2.
Wow.
So when I tell you it was at 2, I couldn't even walk. I couldn't do any, my whole body was like this. I couldn't do anything. My wife had to do everything for me. Everything. I couldn't lift my hand. I couldn't get up off the chair. I couldn't even brush my own teeth. I couldn't even take a bath. I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't even use the bathroom by myself. That's how bad it was. And when I called my doctor, they wanted me to get to the doctor. So I went to the doctor, and I got home. My wife got me in the car. She bought me a walker. I got in the car. She got me in the car. Went to the doctor. They did tests. They sent me to the hospital to do blood work. So I did that. Came home. I was home probably no more than 2 minutes. Was able to sit down. She set me down on the chair. She walked across the room to the other side of the house, and to the other side of the living room, and sit down. And by the time she sat down, my phone rang, and it was my doctor, and they told me to get to the hospital immediately. And when I finally got back to the hospital, this was just when COVID first came out too. So of course, during that time, they wasn't allowing any visitors in the hospital. So my wife and my kids could not even come to the hospital with me. So they put me in the ambulance at the hospital, and they shot me to Athens, Georgia, where they told my wife that night that they didn't think I was going to make it through the night. So it was just that bad. And so, having those symptoms were more than just, they were more than just a feeling. And of course, I found out after getting to the hospital that I was in ICU for 3 days, and that it was not congestive heart failure this time. It was stage 4 kidney renal failure is what they called it, renal failure.
Wow.
Yeah, and with renal failure, I was put on emergency dialysis, where I had to undergo a lot of needles. I had to be stuck. I had to be cut. They did a whole lot of stuff for me. That night, I prayed, and I asked God. I said, "If this is my time, give me peace," because I had no peace, none the whole night. There was no peace in sight. And but I will say that kidney failure. If anybody's ever dealt with kidney failure, it is one of the worst feelings. And I know people talk a lot about cancer. They talk a lot about lupus. They talk a lot about different things. But a lot of people really, that's why I harp on it as much as I do, because you don't really hear a lot of people talking about kidney failure too much. And you hear it, but you don't hear a lot about it. And so I try to raise awareness concerning kidney failure, that, people go to the hospital all the time.
Right.
And they pump them up with the 800 milligram ibuprofen and Advil. Those two, stay away from them. When I had my surgery, my congestive heart failure surgery, not surgery, but when I had surgery in 2018 on my foot, and they pumped me up with 800 milligram ibuprofen. That's what killed my kidneys. And so they'll tell you quick, if you're having any kidney issues, or if you think you're having kidney issues, stay away from ibuprofen and Advil. Stay away from those. Take Tylenol if you're gonna take anything. But yeah, kidney failure. It kind of actually changed my whole world. I mean, congestive heart failure was one thing, but when the kidney failure hit me, it changed my entire life. It changed my whole world, because everything as I knew it was different. Everything. And because with being on dialysis, it was just a blessing to me in a sense, because a lot of people that go on dialysis, they're on dialysis for 10, 15, 20 years.
You're right, because my pops was on, before he left this world, he was on dialysis for 17 years, man.
Yeah.
17 years.
I met someone when I was being interviewed for the kidney transplant to be put on the transplant list. There were people that was coming to those meetings that had already been on dialysis for 20, 25 years, and they were still waiting on a kidney.
Right.
And see, a lot of times they're not going to give you a kidney if you have other things going on in your body, that because as soon as they give you the kidney, it's going to cause some other stuff to start acting out. So a lot of times people will never get a kidney, that's really unfortunate. But with my case, my sister, of course, my sister Leslie Williamson.
Right.
My sister called me, and this is the thing too. Let me say this about family. When I first found out that I needed a kidney, when I first found out, I was devastated. I reached out to my family. I sent a message out to all my cousins that I knew had numbers or whatever, on both sides, mom and dad's side, and I only got 2 responses. And I got upset. And I had to. My wife actually had to help me with it, because she made a good, valid point. She said, "Well, baby, maybe they just don't understand how serious the disease is." So that's another thing. When I was talking earlier about the communication and about talking about different things and having these platforms like what you have now, it is so crucial that people understand that having kidney issues, you will die. You will leave here if you don't get help. It's not you can't do it without the help of having either a kidney transplant or getting on dialysis and having a good nurse, somebody that's going to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. And when you have family that don't understand the process of kidney failure, they won't know to respond. They won't know to say, well, you know what? Let me check to see if I'm a match, or let me check to see if I can help you. They won't do that if they don't understand how the severity of needing a kidney. You can live with one kidney. My dad has had one kidney for almost 20 years. He had cancer in one of his kidneys, so they took it out. So you can live with one kidney, but you got to take care of it. You got to put the right thing in your body. You got to eat right. You got to drink plenty. You can't. There's certain things I can't eat. If I eat like an avocado right now, it'll kill that new kidney just like that. It'll kill it. And like a pomegranate or avocado, If I eat any of that right now, it will kill my kidney, and I'll be at ground zero again. It'll kill it immediately. No warning, none. So
So let me ask you a question, Charles. So for a person who have never experienced that and they want to keep their kidneys healthy, what food is good for the kidney?
Well, you have to. I mean, of course, vegetables. A lot of protein. A lot of protein. There are some vegetables that are good. It just really depends on your body. It depends on your body because like right now, when I was on dialysis, I couldn't eat greens. I'm a country boy. I love greens, but because it had what they call vitamin K, when you're on dialysis, you can't eat it. You can eat a little bit. I'm talking about enough to just really make you mad, basically. So I just basically stayed away from it because, with me being the way that I am, I love vegetables. And with greens, collard greens, turnip greens, broccoli, anything like that, when you're on dialysis, you can't eat that stuff. You can't eat it because it's got what they call vitamin K in it. And the vitamin K is totally against the process of what dialysis is supposed to do for your blood, and dialysis cleans your blood, put it back in your body, it cleans it, but if you eat stuff like that all the time, you'll never heal. You'll never heal, and a lot of it, to be honest with you, Jake, it's all about discipline. And if we don't have discipline, then we're not going to survive. We're not going to make it.
Right. So it's funny you said about discipline. So I didn't mention this earlier in the interview, but I want to mention it now. So Charles, when I tell you that you are the master of discipline, and I want to give a shout out to your wife because she makes sure that you stay disciplined, and and that's what we talk about when you have a mate that as my pops used to tell me when he was living, if she love your health more than she love you, then she gonna be around forever.
Yes, absolutely.
So
I'll tell you, my wife, man, is a jewel. She's a jewel. When I was on dialysis, I did dialysis here at the house, and my wife did everything. She went to the classes. She made sure that she paid attention to what those nurses were saying. They showed her how to actually do the dialysis, the needles, and the sanitation. She did everything, and I'm telling you what. I did dialysis 6 days a week at home, 6 days a week, and she was on point every single time. And if you don't have, and I'm fortunate. I bless God. I'm so fortunate to have that because there are a lot of people. When I first was put on dialysis, there were a couple of people that was in my class. Their spouses walked out on them because it was too much. And when you don't have that support, it's hard, man, because you have to go to the center and they got to do it, and it takes time out of your day. You got to go 3 days a week, and it's just So when I did it at home, I could do dialysis anytime I felt like it. I didn't have to have a set schedule. I could do it first thing in the morning before we go to work. I could work all day long and have more energy. Or either I can wait till I got home in the evening time after work and just do it for a couple of hours and be good.
Okay.
But I'm just grateful that I don't have to do that anymore.
Right.
But I mean, it's there. Dialysis have come so far. They've come a long way from where they used to be. And if you do what you're supposed to do, you can make it. You can make it.
Right. Okay. So back to the discipline, man. I remember, man, you was talking a while back, and and you had so much discipline when it comes to you dropping the weight, and the dropping the weight made you a lot more healthier, and it kind of gave you a whole lot more stamina. So, because you put the nutrients in your body. And you clean the toxins out of your body.
Right.
And so let's talk about that journey.
Okay. Well, I did, and I still do. When I had the transplant, a lot of that changed. as far as the weight loss, because some of the anti-rejection medications that I have to take for the rest of my life is a steroid. So even with taking the steroids, I take 60 milligrams of prednisone a day. And that's a lot. And so with that, it causes weight gain. But the thing is, the secret to all of that though is just moving. You don't sit and be stagnant. Just move, work. Go to work. Still do what you do. Exercise as much as you can. Still eat right. Now, one thing that the prednisone will do, it will make you eat everything that you see. so in knowing that, but see, going in knowing that, you have to counteract it with other stuff. So you won't sit there and the next time somebody see you, you look like you weigh like a sumo wrestler, because if you don't do that, that's what's going to happen. But with the drugs that I have to take, that's one of the fallbacks that I don't like, but I have to take it because that is one of the main anti-rejection medications that I have to take. Now they're gonna break that down and come off of it because like I said, it's at 60 right now, so they're gonna come off of it gradually, and I'll be getting back down to like maybe 15 or 20 milligrams, which will be a lot better. But as of right now, the process of since the kidney, I had my kidney transplant July 29th. July 29th. And as far as where I am right now, they tell me that I'm so much further along than I'm supposed to be. And it's because of the discipline. It's because of, having a wife that gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning and and exercise and eat right. She makes sure we eat right. It just helps. It helps, and then help build to help you build your self-discipline. It takes that, and no, it's not gonna always be easy. It's not gonna be fun, but at the same time, these are some things that you must do if you want to survive. If you don't want to go back through that process all over again.
Right. Okay. And so upon that, man, your children had to see all this, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about the mental and emotional state of your family having to see this, your wife and your kids. But after you answer, that I want to talk about the growth spiritually that you had to help you get through.
Okay.
So let's talk about that emotional and that mental health, in a household. And
it was rough. It was detrimental. Okay. I have my son will be 10 in a couple of weeks. My daughter, she'll be 9 in March, and my baby, he'll be 6 in October. That was the hardest thing for me. I don't think I've ever cried so much to watch my babies look at me and say, "Daddy, are you coming home yet? Daddy, or when are you going to be home? Daddy, when are you going to, and you have to excuse me. That's really touches me because, my babies are my world. Right. And for me to have to always be laying up in a hospital and they can't come and lay up in the bed with me, or they can't come and hang out with me at the hospital, they worried. They're worried. My wife, she does great with my babies, but it's just something about Daddy being in the house, and and when you're not able to be in your house with your children, and you talk to them or you try to FaceTime them on the phone, and it's hard to do that because they're looking at you like, "Daddy, when you coming home? Why you my 5-year-old, Daddy, why are you not home? Why are you in the hospital?" That's hard to explain to a 5-year-old. That I'm gonna be here for a couple of weeks. I'm gonna be here for a month. Because sometimes I didn't. When I had my kidney transplant, I was in the hospital for almost a month and a half because there was some complications that at the beginning of after the surgery. As my journey began, so it was hard trying to explain to my babies that Daddy's gonna be okay. Daddy's gonna be okay. But Daddy, when you coming home? that was the magic $1 million question that I couldn't answer. And that broke me down, man, and it caused me to really seek God. It caused me to really seek God and understand, asking God to help me understand why am I going through all of this, you know? And God says, I'm going through all of this because I know you're gonna tell somebody that it was me who did it, not you.
Right.
You know, it was that. You know, I know. You know, people. You know, they get healed, and it always brings back to my remembrance. You know, the 10 that went and got healed, but only one came back.
Right.
Only one came back and said thank you. What, you know, and so, you know, it's like, okay, God, I know that this is everything that I'm going through. I know it's not for me. I know what I'm going through is for somebody else. And so now I got to be the testimony of somebody else that's going through the same thing I'm going through, and they don't know how to deal with it, or they may not be as on a spiritual level like I was or like I am. And so it's my job as a man of God to, you know, that whatever God does in my life, it's my job. And the Bible says we're overcome by the words of our testimony. So whenever something happens to me, I have to tell somebody else that it wasn't even me, it was God. Because people look at me now and they look at me like, man, you don't look sick, but you don't know my story.
That's right.
You don't know what I've been through. You don't know that's one of my favorite songs. You don't know what I've been through to get to where I am. And so when people look at you and they see the glory of God on your life, and they kind of trying to figure out, okay, man, how is this man still, you know, because at the hospital, they was wondering how did I drive to the doctor with my hemoglobin at 2? Bro, I had no blood.
Right.
How did I drive to the hospital and didn't have any blood in my body? But, you know, when you're supposed to have 12 and it's only 2.
Yeah, that's no blood. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you tell me, who wouldn't serve a God like that?
That's right.
You tell me that everything that I've gone through, that I just sit here and be like the man with the one talent and just put it up under a bush and say, you know what? But Lord, you ain't give me but one, so I just, you know what? I just go ahead and hide it, you know, and you know, and just, you know, because I what I'm gonna do with one,
right?
Instead of planting that one and growing it and making 2. So I'm sorry for crying, man, but
you're good, man.
This is
dear
to my heart. It's dear to my heart, man, and I really want people to understand the severity of being healthy. You know, my wife has a podcast called Living Healthy with the Joneses, and she does this, you know, where we talk about healthy things, healthy eating, healthy living, you know, and clean living, clean eating, and all that kind of stuff. And so many people, when she first started it, would look at her and turn their nose up because they was like, oh Lord, what, you know, something new. But no, it ain't nothing new. This is just something that needs to be addressed, you know. And but you know, I just thank God, man. You know, we've been through so much, you know, and but every single time we go through different things, God is just sharpening us, and he's making us stronger every single time. It's like he's making us become more callous. You know, when we worked on the farm back in the day when I was growing up, you know, my grandfather would never let me wear gloves. You know, we had a hog farm. He would never let me wear gloves. I had to tote bricks and blocks and all kind of stuff, dig holes and put up fences and stuff. And my hands became so callous to where I could hold on to things that a lot of people could not do because their hands were too soft. But that's what God is doing to us as a body, as a people of God, that, you know, he wants us to become callous to the things of the world and become callous to the things of carnality, you know, so we can go to the next level in him. Right.
So Charles, man, you're good, man. You're good. I'm glad you got it out, bro. So that's what my show is all about, man. My show is about awareness, family, education. You know, those are spiritual tears, man. So get it out, bro.
Yes,
get it out. You know what I mean? So upon that, now your kids seen a lot at a young age, and your wife had to be about 20 people all into one. You know what I mean? All into one. And so we definitely thank God for her. But upon enduring the mental and emotional side, how did this grow your family spiritually?
Actually, it didn't start out that way. To be honest with you, with the toxins and the things that were the chemical imbalances and the toxins that was going through my body was causing me to become irritable. I was snapping, I was biting people's heads off. Didn't know why, couldn't control it. And there were a lot of times that I ticked her off because I wasn't patient with her, but it caused us to become closer, because once I started to study and understand what this disease was bringing to me, it really kind of brought some light to it, and both of us actually sit down and we kind of came to an understanding based upon the things that we were studying, that we were reading concerning it, that these things do happen, and because the toxins, what was happening is that I was able to use the restroom with kidney failure, but my body was not releasing all of the bad stuff that comes with that. So what was happening was, how something just continues to go in a circle in your body and it picks up different things along the way.
Right.
That's what was going on with me. I was toxic. I was poisoned on the inside, and it was causing my mind to play these types of games on me that, everybody was against me, or I was, I was just not in a good place. But it caused us to find a ministry that catered to us as a family.
Okay.
That's where we are now. I'm actually the worship and arts director at this ministry now. April will be 3 years. And because of this ministry, Oak Grove Missionary Baptist Church in Evans, Georgia, because of this ministry, they are so family oriented to where they took us under their wing, and we became a part of a marriage ministry that was there, and it really blessed our life. It blessed our life. And so to be a part of a ministry that caters to family is very important.
Right.
In any sense of the word, not necessarily because I had kidney failure, because I had congestive heart failure, but just because it is something that will bring awareness to families that, hey, we have to stick together. We got to communicate. We got to do this. We got to do that. So that's why things have changed around here, is because we have become more unified in ministry. I just preached my initial sermon, as the year went out, and so God allowed me to, something I've always known, but He allowed me to accept that calling, and be a part of this ministry. And so, it actually has helped us as a family as a whole. It really has.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, that's great, man. So, upon getting your transplant, and before I go into that, I want to ask you now. Like I know you for a long time, and so I know about your older babies as well.
Yes, my twins. Yes.
Right. Upon talking to your older kids and explaining to them what was going on, how did you have to break the news to them? You know what I mean?
It was a little hard because they live in another state, of course. And yes, my story. You know there was a lot of turmoil in that growing up as a young father, not really being able to be in their lives like I wanted to be. But the relationship that we have now, they are actually they have a birthday in September, and they'll be 30, 33, 32. And so, things have changed a lot. We had a lot of bumpy roads, a lot of bumpy roads,
Right.
But for to talk to them about my kidney, they had already experienced it with their stepfather. He had his kidney transplant several years ago, so they understood the process. But by me being their dad, it was like, they was like, oh my God, what can I do to help? So they were on board, but of course, with other health issues and stuff that they kind of deal with, over the years or whatever, they would not be able to help me. But the support was very important to me, that they supported the fact that, hey, if I can help you, I'm going to help you. But, I'm just here for you. I'm here for you.
Right.
Else. Yeah.
Right. So upon with talking with your baby sister, I know that really had to make you feel good, man. Cause
that's my angel.
She's always been your biggest supporter, no matter what, man.
That's my angel, man. That's my angel.
she was always one that she ain't milling people business.
Nope.
She asks you how you doing. She keep it moving. And
still do.
If it wasn't positive, she ain't want nothing to do with it.
Still the same.
You know what I mean? Okay, still the same. Yeah, She was always like that. So upon that, with your wife being there through the process, and she seeing everything that you went through and everything that she went through as a wife, as a mother, as a friend, and man, she was strong for you when you couldn't be strong.
Absolutely.
And so, with that being said, man, I just want to know more about her podcast, man. So I can have people listen, so I can share it, man. And cause I was talking to a fella the other day, man. I said, man, I see a lot of men say a lot of this, that, third about a female, man, about a woman. I said, bro, but we got to realize one thing. The closest thing that a woman will ever see to dying is when she's on the operating table having that baby. Bearing that child. So a lot of times, man, you got to understand, like, I could never put myself in the position of a female. No. I couldn't imagine carrying a child for 9 months and a child growing inside you. Then you got to push the child out of all these pains when you're screaming and you want to hit everybody with a forearm and stuff like that. So, I could never imagine that. But, tell us more about the podcast, and then we'll close out.
Okay, she does a Facebook Live. I don't know if it will be called a podcast. She probably would like to do a podcast. But what she does every morning, she does an inspirational word every morning. Monday through Friday, basically, is that normally she comes out about 6:30 in the morning. She does it, and I mean, it's actually when I tell you, it is very inspirational. She keep it very, very cut and dry, sweet. She don't go a whole hour. She goes about maybe 10-15 minutes, if that. But it's what she speak are words of encouragement, words of wisdom. Gives people hope. Gives people a reason to want to go throughout that day without any stress, any worries. I don't care what's going on in your life. I don't care how big, how small you think it may be. This is encouragement. Encouraged by Tasha is the name of it. And she does so much. She also has a book that she wrote a couple of years ago. And I was talking about that book today to a friend of mine, and she still has those. She can order as many as she can order some if anybody would be interested. It's a book based upon, it's a women's book. It's like a devotional, but it's absolutely amazing, and it's called Rejuvenate. Rejuvenate: Marriage, Motherhood, Ministry. Marriage, motherhood, and ministry is the core topic, but the topic of the book is rejuvenate, the subject. But if anybody's interested in getting that book, because it's really designed for women, mothers, and of course, being a woman, being a mother is ministry.
It is.
It's ministry, and so they will benefit from this book because you can take notes in it, the whole nine. But if anybody's interested in this book, I would be happy to we can order some and we can sell them. I think they're going for like $10.
Okay.
But what I can do is I can get with you tomorrow. I'll give you a call tomorrow, and we'll kind of can give you the information that that you need to if you want to help her with that. She would love it.
I would definitely love, and I would definitely love I can sit there and talk with you and her about how she can go ahead and start the podcast and stuff like that, man. So I would definitely like sit and talk with her, man, because I know she'll have tons of people that would love to be a guest on the show and talk with her, and it's as soon as this COVID let up, and I'm praying God it will, I can definitely seeing her doing a seminar,
we've talked about that.
Yeah. So I think it's needed because she's experienced something that maybe some people didn't experience. Congestive heart failure. Kidney failure. Dialysis 6 days a week.
He's seen it all.
Then seeing a whole kidney transplant go through. And then seeing her husband. That be that living testimony. And we know that to been through all that you've been through, we kind of know that you already had to see God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You already had to see him and talk with him. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because don't know, the average Joe can't go through that.
No, I was talking to a guy today, man. I was talking to a friend of mine today concerning some other stuff. Because I just got over COVID, man. I went out today for the first time in about 21 days out of my house. I've been in the house for like 21 days with COVID and pneumonia. So I'm dealing with the pneumonia part now. And it's rough. I'm telling you, it's rough. Thank God that I was vaccinated and all that. But when I tell you, man, this is one of the hardest things I've ever had to deal with COVID pneumonia. It's different from regular pneumonia. It's rough. And so I breathe. Only problem I'm having, I didn't have any symptoms, but the only problem I'm having now is just the windedness. And so they say that's normally the last thing to kind of develop back where it's supposed to be. But yeah, man, we've been through some things, but God, that's all I can say, man. Is but God.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. And so, I'm just glad we got to have this, part 2, and I'm grateful for you, man. Yeah, and just grow some more awareness, man, because you survive, man. Amen. God got a special purpose for you, man. And so, and that I always told you that whether it's singing or whether it's preaching, that voice gonna touch millions. For sure.
Amen. I appreciate you, Jake. Man, you have no idea when you called me earlier. It was today has just been one of those days, man, where God just did some things today that just kind of blew my mind. And I know it shouldn't blow your mind, but it does.
Right.
I'm just, I'm grateful, man, to have this opportunity because, you rarely find people, childhood friends that we grew up with that, do the things that you're doing and be a man of your word.
Right.
That's important to me, that when somebody tells me they're going to do something, they do it. That's big for me, huge, so I'm grateful that that you're doing your dream, because we talked about this years ago. We talked about this years ago when we was talking about recording and doing all these different things, and so I'm just grateful for you, man, and I bid you Godspeed, man, and keep pushing, brother. Yes, sir.
I got you, and I appreciate you growing this awareness, man. And without further ado, man, blessings to the wife for being, a backbone, being a survivor, being a warrior, being a champion, and and I'm glad the kids got a chance to see you smile again, man. What I mean?
Oh yeah.
And so as long as they can see Daddy smiling, they know he all right.
Hey, that's right.
You know what I mean? So until next time, my brother, you have a blessed night.
You too, man.
All right. Peace.
Peace.